get back to the studio. Hello y'all, and welcome to a new tutorial about BCU, mainly the animation part. I've heard that apparently tutorials about BCU animation have been in high demand lately, so I feel like right now will be a great chance to help those who need it, especially considering how I had this video planned for a while now. But enough of that, let's get right into the good stuff! The first thing you'll need in order to make an animation is a sprite. Now, in order to get a sprite, you can either draw it yourself or grab an existing one through the enemy animation tab. For the sake of the tutorial, I'll go with the former. Alright, let's draw our sprite. For the tutorial, I'll use Sprite Editor, but you can use any program that exports to PNG, like Paint.net, GIMP, Alpaca, or even Photoshop if you have it. Alright, well, let's draw our character. I'm gonna be drawing an enemy called Ballman. It's like... My beautiful shot son. Now we're gonna need the sprite map, which is basically just take this. And here. There you go, we got ourselves a sprite map. Oh yeah, I almost forgot the shadow. Here you go. Oh my god. Bro. There you go. Yeah, that's it. That's our spreadsheet. I will add more to this. This is just an example. Alright, let's move on to the next step. Now it's time to add our sprite. To add a sprite, simply click on the add button right here and select your sprite. Now a pop-up should appear. What kind of animation do you want to create? And with two options, unit/enemy and solo. For a tutorial, just pick unit/enemy. And there you have it. Your sprite is now in BCU. Now let's add a line right here. And I'll explain what this is. You can also... First I'll explain what this is. It has 6 parameters. First there's the ID, the X and Y axis, and the width and height of the box, and then there's a name. To move it around, simply just hold the left mouse button and just drag it around like this. And to resize it, do the same thing, but hold Control like this. It also works with the right control. Just control. Now, select your box and and put it on the borders of the sprite, at least 1 pixel away, so we don't run into some clipping issues. And boom. Hold on. There you go. Now we just gotta do this with all the other sprites. And boom. Now I'll explain these 6 buttons. No, fuck. 7, 10, 11, 12, whatever. I don't care anymore. Okay, first of all, copy. Well, just copy the sprite. You can do this many times as you want. It doesn't matter. Import will replace the sprite. got Ballman. I'll pick Wicker Minions. And there you go. It's now a completely different sprite. You can also use it to, for example, update a sprite. Here we got Ballman. I'm gonna add some blue on the bottom, like this. We save. Then we import Ballman, and there you go. Now, Sprites. It's just hue, saturation, value. Nothing special. Every AR program has this. Then there's remove. It deletes the animation, but pop-up will show up. This action gonna get done. Are you sure to delete? Yes, because I don't need any of these. Then there's merge. Merge basically just self-explanatory. It merges two sprites together. So I get this, Golden Bear, and Gal. Merge. Oh, there you go. You go to custom animation, and here they are. Then there's export, which is exports the sprite. And then we got localize. I have no idea what it does, I'll be real here. There's reload sprite, which just reloads the sprite itself, but simple. Here it is. Just make it red. Save, reload sprite. Now he's awesome. Just refer the changing real quick. Alright, there you go. Then there's save sprite, which is save sprite. And white background, which is okay, this just changes the background, the checkerboard. It's nothing special. Undo. Well, it does this. Imagine you fucked up real hard. Like, oh no, I did this. Undo. Boom. And then there's save all, which just saves your progress, basically. That's what it does. It's the same as file, save all, it's the same thing. And that's it. That's it for the Sprite Editor. Next up is the Model Editor. This is where you place all your parts into one model. First, let's add a line. Each line has 14 different parameters, which I will briefly explain them all. ID is still the ID of the part, just like the Sprite Editor. Parent is much more interesting. It basically glues a part to another. Image is, well, the image of the part. If I set to 1, it will show the ball's body. C order is the layer of the part. If a part has the same C order as another part, but has a higher ID than the one it's parented to, or the one behind it, it will show in front, unless you change the C order or layer to a smaller number. Position X and Y are the position of the part. Pivot X and Y are the pivot of the part, aka the red dot in the middle. Scale X and Y is the scale of the part. Bigger number means it's bigger, smaller number means it's smaller. 1000 equals 100% size, aka the default value. The angle is, well, the angle of the part. 3600 is a full cycle. Opacity changes the transparency of the part. If it's at 500, for example, it's gonna be transparent. If it's at 0, it will become invisible. Glow changes the blend mode of the part. 0 is default, 1 is addition, 2 is multiply, 3 is screen, and -1 is subtraction. And finally, we got the name of the part. As for the hotkeys, to drag your part around, just hold the left mouse button. Nothing much. If you don't want to do that, however, just hold shift, left mouse button, and here you go. To rotate your part around, hold the right mouse button and still drag around. And to move the pivot, hold Control, left mouse button, and here you go. There's also these four. Remove line, which will remove the line. Remove tree is basically the same, but it's just removes an entire tree, which is this right here. So if I do bring all of these to 2, this one's connected to 5 and this one's connected to 6. If I delete this, it's all gone. Alright, now let's make our model. And here we have it. Now let's change the pivots. Now I want to talk about these two buttons right here. Sort will source everything in the animation area, which we'll get over with later. And then there's mirror. Basically just mirrors the sprite, that's it. And with this, we're finally done with the model editor. Next up is the animation editor. And the last editor we'll go through is the animation editor. First of all, this may seem really overwhelming as there's a lot of things to learn, but we'll go through each thing separately. First of all, there are 6 types of animations, or... Oh no, wait, 7, I'm dumb. It's 7. We got the walk animation, the idle animation, the attack animation, the head back animation, for when he gets hurt, and then the burrow down, move, and up animations, which are for, well, burrowing animations, but they can burrow up, specifically this one, can also be used for summons, like an entrance basically. We're not doing that. This is an animation to do, not a visuals to do. Now let's add line, just press this, and here we got a line. And each line consists of the ID of the part, the modifier, how many times it loops, and finally the name. Let's go over the ID first. Unlike the past two editors, you can have multiple parts with the same ID. Most of the times you're gonna want a part to have multiple lines. Well, it's animation. You're gonna want like a lot, basically. It depends on the complexity of the animation. Then there's the loop, which, well, it basically how many times the animation is gonna loop. If I set it to -1, it's gonna be infinite. If I set it to 10, it's gonna loop 10 times. If I set it to 1, it's only gonna play once. And then there is the modifier. This is the interesting one. So I will go through every modifier so we know what we're working with. Starting off with modifier 0. Okay, so here I have a fully rigged character, full with animations and shit. So first of all, let's get the shuffle, ID 55, mod 0. Now let's change the, as you can see, it's no longer moving with the character. But if I set it to 40, it's now glued to the right hand. It's kind of situational, but it does have a use. You're probably not gonna use it frequently. Well, maybe. It's, again, very situational. Doesn't even work. Oh, wait. Okay, there is modifier 1, which is probably broken, I'll be honest. It's probably just broken. It's supposed to change the ID of the animation, but like, why do we use that? I don't know. Nobody uses ID. I'll just say it now. Nobody uses ID. What people use, however, is modifier 2, Sprite. So okay, let's get the eye real quick. Let's align. And what Sprite does is it changes the sprites based on the value. So for example, if I put in a value of 2, this eye is gonna turn into the shadow. Really use, it's basically a must-have for frame-by-frame animation. For example, this change jump character made for points. When it opens its mouth, it's, as you can see, it's multiple sprites. And yeah. Then we got modifier 3, which is basically the layer, aka the C order. If it's 0, it's gonna be on layer 0. If it's on 5, it's gonna be on, well, layer 5. However, one thing about layers is they can be negative. But you cannot do it from mod 3. Because if I put in here, for example, the value of -5, it's gonna revert back to 0. But there's a way. There's a way. Change the mod to something that supports negative numbers, and we go something like -25. Change back to mod 3, and as you can see, the part value is actually -25. However, if I try to change it back with the modifier 3, it just goes back to 0. It's pretty annoying. I hope it gets fixed. And yeah, that's it. Next up is 4 and 5. 4 just moves the part in the x-axis, while 5 does it in the y-axis. It's the same thing for the pivot, 6 and 7. Don't even fucking bother. This one is mostly just used for frame by frame. As you can see, when I move this, when I move this number here, the pivot stays still. But if I do it with mod 4, it's everything moves, including the pivot and the part itself. Then we got scale, mod 8, which scales the part depending on the value. It's again, what is in the mod editor? If it's a big number, it's gonna be big. Don't make it too big. If it's a small number, it's gonna be smaller, like that. It does have its use, mainly like explosion effects and some other cool stuff. But then we got the separated versions. Modifier 9 stretches the image in the x-axis, while modifier 10 in the y-axis. Then we got modifier 11, angle. It's similar to the model editor 360 or 3600 is from the cycle. And yeah, like set to 500, it's this. It's angle 50 degrees. 12 changes the opacity. Basically a must-have for hiding like effects and stuff. We'll maybe get into that in a future video. Yeah, these ones are interesting. 13 will flip the part horizontally, while 14 flips it vertically. 50, however, is a bit harder to explain. It basically cuts the sprite depending on the value. But if it's 0, it's back to normal. But if it's 1, it's basically just gone. It's gone. But if I set to something like, for example, 3000, it will repeat itself. I mean, it can be used for like chains and stuff, maybe. Again, for various situations, it can be a bit difficult to use, so you might have to like tweak the sprite a bit, just for extend to work properly. And then there's extend Y, which basically just does the same thing. Set to this, is half blinking. And that's it really. Then there's modifier 53, scale mode, which is apparently an older version of modifier 8. And yeah. Now, let's go over the tab on the right over here. You might have already noticed. So we'll switch it to something more. Okay. To the line, well, here you can add as many lines as you want. To keep it safe, to keep it normal, just have 3, 0, 0, 0. And each one has like 4 parameters. First there's the frame. It's basically when, like if I put in 15, it's gonna, I'm gonna put this at 15 and 30. And refresh this. And once it reaches 15, it kind of goes back to this one. If you do this, if you swap it, it's not gonna work properly. It's because you fucked it up. And another thing, one thing to keep in mind. 30 frames equals 1 second. So for example, 1.5 seconds is 45 frames and half a second is 15 frames. So keep that in mind when making animations. Then we got that value, which is change the value. You can set anything and it's just things. Very simple. Then there is the easing, and there are 5 different types of easings. 0 you already saw it, it's linear. Let me make this more noticeable. Change the body to the body. So it's linear. 1 is instant, useful for frame by frame. 2 is exponential. It's the same as 1 because we don't have, because it's affected by parameter. So if I set to 1, it's going to be it's going to be like this. But if I set it to a higher number, like minus 3, minus 3, 3, minus 3, it's gonna be more intense. And okay, I hope this doesn't sound too confusing. I'm not used to making tutorials. I'll try my best. Parameter, if it's a negative number, it's gonna ease out. If it's a positive number, it's gonna ease in, basically. Then we got polynomial. This one's a bit more complex. And I don't really use it much. I'll just add more lines because it needs it. Wait. Yeah. If all lines have easing 3, it will fit them all into a single polynomial. I don't really understand this. I'll be real. I don't really understand it. I'm just an animator. I never touch easing 3. I barely touch it. And then we got the last easing, sinusoidal, which is just a simple ease in and out. Well, it's also affected by parameter. Like, let me put in 3, 3, 3. It's basically the same as 2. It's a smoother too. But you can set anything as the parameter as long as it's positive or negative. So I can have like some crazy shit like 3 minus 30,000, 30,000, minus 30,000. And it's still gonna be the same as -3 and 3 and -3. But if I change it back to 2, it just instant, like straight up. And now I will make an animation for Ballman using most of these modifiers. So let's do this. And there you go. It's just very simple. No, nothing much, and yeah. There's one last thing, however. One last trick. Like, negative frames. It's a bit hard to explain. I'm gonna have to make a new animation. Just redo this. I'll make a quick chain. Okay. Now, let's do an animation before. And it's gonna be a simple left and right animation, like this, like a metronome. If we set this to all of them, it's gonna look pretty weird. But there's a thing. If we set this to, for example, -3, then copy this, hold Shift, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. As you can see, the changes, the values are 3 numbers smaller. It's just basic math. Now let's subtract 3 for every part, every following part. So -6 for this one and -9 for this one. Now it's wiggling, but it can be better. If we just swap the order, we got a little wiggly fella. We can add more. We can add more. We can make it even wigglier. And yeah, we got this. Now let's swap the order. 10, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Super wiggly. Very useful for like fluid animations. And that's it, really. Like, that's all the animation stuff that's important. One last thing. To give your animation an icon, just pause, click on icon, and here it is. You can scale it up by holding Control and pressing the left mouse button, and you can scale it up, make things easier. Just make sure it's in frame, click on confirm, click on this, and if we scroll down, here it is. Ballman now has an icon. And well, that's all the basic animation stuff covered. I hope you learned a thing or two from it, and end up making your own custom animations in the future. This was Rafi speaking, and I'll see you all in the next video. Yeah? Oh, okay. No way.
We are the Sprites. Please see us.
What the